We had the pity party the very next morning after she was diagnosed, and we sat on the bed and she cried and said, you know, I was the class president. I was going to go to West Point. I was the school newspaper editor. And I said, honey, you're still all those things. She was diagnosed with an adult form of leukemia, and it was very aggressive.
She has one of the worst strains, what they call the FLT3 strain, and only 7% of the people diagnosed with that make it.
AML is acute myelogenous leukemia. It's a form of leukemia, which is a blood-borne cancer. It affects the bone marrow, affects the blood, and can be found anywhere that the blood goes.
She fought through 8 rounds of chemotherapy.
The level of maturity that she showed through this process was extraordinary.
All of these drugs and the leukemia starts affecting different parts of the body, organ, bones. It's very difficult, very painful, and a lot of the side effects of the chemo are extremely painful.
For us around her, I think it was horrific. It was invasive. When you see a kid laying on her belly and having needles going into her spine and spinal fluid being pulled and chemotherapy going in, seeing her lose her hair, seeing the sores start.
It's not only the leukemia that's ravaging her body, but it's all of the therapies that were really taking an effect.
Sarah had a very high-risk leukemia, one that Dr. Kelly and I believed would ultimately be best served with a bone marrow transplant. We need to get the leukemia into remission.
Unfortunately, Sarah's leukemia never really responded well to anything that we tried.
Every time we would knock the leukemia down, the chemotherapy also did something else to her body.
There were times you'd be tough in the room and then you'd go out in the hall.
And cry, yeah.
Yeah, just let it go.
Sometimes physicians can't solve the problem. Unfortunately, I was never able to have our team take her to transplant.
It's terrible, because you know what's going to happen.
And the last possibility for chemotherapy was one that was very toxic on their lungs, and our lungs were already compromised. And so they said, you know, we're sorry, there's nothing else we can do.
There's nothing more painful